Deathscyp here from YCG, your casual gamer. In the last episode, we added some physics material to our scene. Doing so, when we're walking on different structure, we hear different sounds. Problem is, even when I'm walking, it sounds like I'm running. Vice versa when I'm running. So to fix this, today we're going to learn how to make a BlendSpace 1D, which I already did over here just to show you that it works when connected to our scene, to our running. Suddenly, when I walk, you can hear me walking with the sound, and when running, it goes accordingly. So let's get to it. Alright, first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to go inside your animation tab or wherever you want to create your blend space and go in right click and animation and blend space 1D. 1D for one direction, and we're going to select our, make sure you select the right skeleton over here. For me it's this one, and we're going to call it BS for blend space, not for bullshit, underscore, and I'm going to call mine speed, or you can call it whatever you want. Save everything, and there you go. You might notice over here that I created a normal blend space also, so we can check a little bit the difference afterward. So between the two. So open up your blend space. So the first thing you're going to notice over here is you have your arms in the middle, because we're playing in the first person aspect, so that's what the engine gives us. On the right side you have your animations listed, and on the left you have the settings. And when you look at the graph over here, you're going to see a little green ball, and to move it you can shift click and move it. If you're playing a newer version, just left clicking and moving it seems to work. In my case, you have to hold shift first to be able to move it. So the way that you see over here is from 0, the value 0 to 100. And right now our graph has not been named yet. So in our case, we're going to play with the speed of the character. So right away, we can fix that up. So change the name to speed, and you're going to notice on your graph that it updated. Also, the speed of the characters from 0 to 100, in our case, is not 0 to 100. If you go inside your first person character, and we created a sprint system in the last season, and my sprint speed was 600. So if I want to match that in my blend space, I'm going to go for the maximum value over here and put it to 600. Now you can see that it updated on our graph again. So from 0 to 600 is going to play with the speed. Now, what's the point of us having to do it now, since we have no animation in our game? Well, simple, is because when you check the run animation over here that we created, that is provided to us by Unreal, is you see that we added these footstep notification in the last episode. But right now, the speed is so fast of the playback of the animation that these get triggered too quick. Now this is where the blend space comes into play. I'm going to be able to blend between 0 and 600 a transition speed in which the idle state, so I just dragged it to the left and grabbed the run speed and put it to the right, and it's going to gradually add speed to the playback animation of the running. Therefore, when you jump back into the running animation, it's not going to trigger the footstep as quick as when it was triggering it at the example scene of the intro of this episode. So therefore, it was fixed our problem. Let's go back inside here, and now you're probably asking yourself, what's the difference between the regular blend space and the 1D, the blend space one directional? Well, right here I can only move from left to right. So if it works really well for walking and running. In our case, we have no animation, so most of the time when you see those tutorials, you're going to see them like this. So you have in the third person character, very good to show it. You have, let's say you have the idle over here, and then you have the walking animation, and you go forward and you have the running. So in our case, it's one direction, and it seems to work that way. Now, what happens if you want to have some strafing movement, like in the other blend space? That's the blend space 2D or the regular blend space. From here, you have a lot more room. You can add animation here, here, corner up top, right, left, and the values are going to be way more expanded. So that's going to give you more more play. So you can maybe create a strafe system where your character has a gun and he starts strafing to the left, so only the legs follows but the top stays normal. So there's a lot more functions that you can play with the regular blend space, which we're not going to be covering now, but it's just a nice intro so that you see the difference between the one and the other. So back to our blend space, we're actually done over here. You could remove some of the grid dividends because we don't have any more animation, but I like this. It seems to work really well for me. Now let's add it to our character, to our animation rig. So you're going to click on the blueprint over here, and it's going to bring you to the graph. Now just click on the top over here. You're gonna have the FPP run state or the new state machine. If you don't have it, you can click on animation graph over here and double click here, and it's gonna bring you to the animation graph of your character. Double click on the new state machine, and we're gonna go inside the running state. If you're playing again in a third person perspective, you're gonna notice that it's quite it's slightly different. Instead of this, you have the idle and run together. And that's because in the third person, they already give you a simple blend space that works. That's exactly what the blend space does. If I go back in my regular one, if I were to be adding my blend space right here, I would probably get rid of those two over here and change the idle over here to idle dash run. But in our case, since we don't have any animation updating, we don't care if the arms are showing or not. We can just go straight into the running over here, get rid of this, and add our blend space and connect it. And now you're going to notice that it's asking for the speed. We don't have that variable yet, so let's create it. Just drag the little execution out and promote it to a variable and call it speed. And you're done over here. Almost, because there's one thing missing. We have to find a way to update that speed. So how to do so? You go inside the event graph, and you're going to see here that this is always updating the animation. So it's like an event tick, but for your animation blueprint. And over here on the set movement, as soon as the velocity change, so as soon as your character starts getting movement, there's a vector length that's being calculated that if it's over 0, it declares that you're moving. So fairly put, we understand that this over here, the vector length, is actually your speed. So you can alt drag the speed inside the graph over here and make sure the execution goes through it, and make sure that it goes to the next part, and also connect the vector length to the speed. Now let's check if it works. So if you're here just to learn how to make a blend space, you would be done. That would be all the settings you have to do. So now, why do we do a blend space? Somebody was asking me, why are we doing it using a blend space for our sound effect instead of having a blueprint over here? The easy answer is to match the speed, the current speed of your character to the sound effect that are being heard smart, like because you have a physics material that we created in the last episodes that's calculating where you're stepping. It would take a good program. You would have to actually spend time doing this, but there's already a built-in function for you to help that feature. If I go ahead right now and I hit play, you're gonna see that my sound effect is fixed. I'm in the game, I start walking, and the sound effect is according to my walking. And if I run, now it goes faster. If you heard in the preview of this video, it wasn't the case, and I could just change it right away. Now I didn't do anything magical. I created the blend space, I connected it to my rig, which is already there. Before, it was just the running animation like this, and I would just plug it here. And if I go back outside, you're going to notice that the problem is back. So just by creating this blend space that we did together, that took us, what, two minutes, we are already done. But if I wanted to make my own program to match my current speed with my sound effect, it would be a lot more complicated, and it would get a lot more messier in my main character. And I don't want to have too much programs if I know there's built-in solution that works for me. Even though I don't even have an animation to match my arms, the blend space is really handy for my sound effects. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like always, leave a like and subscribe if you like what you see. And the next episode, I would like to give a death scream for my character. So if I jump down or if the bridge breaks on me, I would die instantly when I hit the floor.